woke up Monday morning and I walked out on the lawn. My eyes were barely open and my mouth began to yawn. Picked up the daily paper, every single headline said that this whole world is full of trouble and I wished I'd stayed in bed. Sometimes the bad that's going on's enough to bring you down. Turned on my television and began to flip on through all 100 channels, HBO and pay-per-view. Not one message had a meaning that was good in any way. Just before I wrote the whole world off, I heard my father say, don't forget what I have promised, you can overcome it all. I'll spread this talk all over town about the peace and joy I found in you. Good news, good news. This story is about to break, and blessed are the feet that take the truth. Good news, good news. I'm slipping on my dancing shoes, 'cause I've got good news. Well, my knees began to shaking and my heart began to beat, and a funny new sensation worked its way into my feet. The spirit of glad tidings came from somewhere deep inside, and holding back the flood was just like holding back the tide. I couldn't help but circulate to everyone I know. I'll spread this talk all over town about the peace and joy I found in you. Good news, good news. This story is about to break, and blessed are the feet that take it through. Good news, good news. I'm slipping on my dancing shoes, 'cause I've got good news. I've got good news. I'll spread this talk all over town.
Welcome to one of the most listened to music news podcasts in the world, SGNP, with your host, Darren Sutherland. Join us as we talk with industry leaders, artists, and entertainers about their faith, family, and careers. This is information you will not find anywhere else on radio, web, or in a magazine, but only firsthand on SGNP.
And welcome back to Southern Gospel News Podcast. This is our first show since early November. It's January 1, 2021. Welcome. If this is the first time you've ever listened, you're going to be in for a treat today, because along with me is my co-host. He's the lead singer of the Southern Gospel group, the Kingdom Heirs. He's the president of the Southern Gospel Music Association, and he's one of the most respected men in all of Southern Gospel music, Arthur Rice. Arthur, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm great. Wonderful.
Did you have a good Christmas?
It's fantastic. Busy. We worked every day with Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and in fact worked right up to past New Year's. So we're still busy.
Is it kind of weird in a way singing Christmas carols on the 28th and 29th? I mean,
it is. We kind of our program. We're kind of able to do kind of what we want to do, and so and most people that come in and hear us, they know that we kind of mix a little bit of Christmas and Southern Gospel up until Thanksgiving, and then we do more Christmas, but right after Christmas, we kind of switch it back, and we do a few Christmas, but we kind of go back into doing a little more Southern Gospel. So, and most people that hear us, kind of know that. So, so we kind of get back into.
You know what's funny about Southern Gospel and Christmas? My two favorite Christmas songs are what I call true Southern Gospel songs, or Christmas songs. You know what they are? One of them is a new one, and it's probably a lot of people's. It's Mark Lowry's "Mary Did You Know?" Okay.
Mhm.
Tremendous song. And if there's ever been, and you can, some people can say it's contemporary, some people can say it's Southern gospel. It depends on where Mark's cashing his check that night, okay, onto what he is. He's a great Southern gospel artist and worked with Gaither for a long time, and we all know that. But the next song that is my favorite, and it don't sound right unless it's done with a twang. You know what that song is, Arthur?
No.
Beautiful Star of Bethlehem.
Yeah.
I heard Pop Lewis do it one time, and it was probably the best rendition I ever heard. You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've heard the Primitive do it too, and it's a great rendition by those.
You're right. You're exactly right. We recorded that, and it's hard to sing that song if you don't sing it in that kind of acoustic feel, kind of country or bluegrass kind of feel, and that's exactly how we did it.
You've got to sing it like Ralph Stanley. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You've got to
Yeah.
picture yourself being Ralph Stanley and singing that song, because it just don't go. I mean, your boss, Dolly Parton, one of the greatest singers that ever walked the face of the earth. She could sing "Oh Beautiful Star of Bethlehem," or we could get that preacher in that little church that's got an out-of-tune piano in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and it would sound better because he has that certain twang. You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's awesome. Hey, coming up today on this show, and folks, groups, industry people, you don't want to miss this. You really don't. And let me just go ahead and give away the caveat why I can tell you that. Because the interview's already been done before the intro here's been done. We've already done the interview with Steve Brown. So I'm not going to build up anything and say, man, what do you think of that? Arthur, I want you to speak to your brothers and sisters in the gospel music industry and tell them why they should listen to this podcast today.
Well, it really is encouraging, especially through what we've been through this year, and I think it will speak to everyone, and especially to the artists and the folks that are kind of in the middle of it, trying to figure out what's next. And I really think this will be an encouragement, and you really need to listen to it. And Steve does such a great job of just speaking from the heart and just being real. And I know that it will be an encouragement to you.
From the full-time guys and girls to the weekend warriors, listen to what Steve Brown has to say. I think you will enjoy it. Hey, check us out on Facebook. We haven't been making as many posts lately because we took some time off, but we're back. We're rocking and rolling, and I got some things out there. Hey, want to mention this past December, you know what I'm thankful for, Arthur? And this is the only thing I'm going to mention about COVID. Other than that, I'm thankful it's getting over with, and I'm thankful that my buddy Steve Weatherford, my buddy Les Butler, and others that have contracted it made it through.
Yeah.
I really am excited about that. And I want to get them on in a short time after we get over with this and have them tell their story. And Steve said he would do that when he said, Darren, when I can think straight, I'll do it. But if you follow along on Facebook with him, he went through it. So anyway, I'm thankful for that. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, Southern Gospel News Podcast. You can go back and listen to any show we've ever done. Doesn't matter if it's with Russ Taff, Peg McCamey, Jason Crabb, Ivan Parker. Listen to the one with Mark Trammell. And today's with Steve Brown. It's the first preacher, quote unquote, pastor, non-singer we've ever had on the show. And I'm thankful we went in that direction today, Arthur, ain't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No doubt, no doubt. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come right back. Steve Brown from Key Life Ministries.
I faced a mountain that I've never faced before. That's why I'm calling on you, Lord. I know it's been a while, but Lord, please hear my prayer. I need you like I never have before. Sometimes a troubled sea, sometimes it takes a desert to get a hold of me. Your love is so much stronger than whatever troubles me. Sometimes it takes a mountain to trust you and believe. Forgive me, Jesus. I thought I could control whatever life would throw my way. But this, I will admit, has brought me to my knees. I need you, Lord, and I'm not ashamed to say, oh, sometimes it takes a mountain, sometimes a troubled sea, sometimes it takes a desert to get a hold of me. Your love is so much stronger than whatever troubles me. Sometimes it takes a mountain to trust you and believe. Sometimes it takes a mountain, sometimes a troubled sea, sometimes it takes a desert to get a hold of me. Your love is so much stronger than whatever troubles me. Sometimes it takes a mountain to trust you and believe. Sometimes it takes a mountain to trust you and believe.
And welcome back once again to Southern Gospel News Podcast. It is, of all days, New Year's Day, gentlemen. Okay, I know we're recording this even well before Christmas, but this show is going to be released on New Year's Day, 2021. So
Good
2020
riddance,
is
20.
is behind us. And our special guest, Arthur, is it's the man with the golden tone, so to speak, but he's so wise, so smart. I've listened to his ministry for years. And Arthur, it's our pleasure today to have Reverend Steve Brown with us. Steve, how are you, my friend?
Hey, it's good to be with you guys. When you first asked me, I thought maybe you wanted me to sing. And my assistant started laughing and said, "Don't you dare." But if I could sing, I'd sing bass in a quartet.
There you go.
Absolutely.
There you go.
But Jesus didn't give me that gift. So
Steve,
I talk pretty good.
you do talk pretty good. And if you, I mean, you've got, it doesn't matter the genre, no matter if it's secular, it doesn't matter if it's Christian, whatever. Your voice is one of those 1 in a million. I sound like a redneck, like where your wife's from in Dublin, Georgia. Okay. That's the way I sound. Let's just face it. Okay. Arthur's got that Western North Carolina drawl, and folks, Steve is from out of Asheville originally. Where did that voice come from, my friend? Where, I mean, where did it come
You guys, it is an illustration of grace. And I know I have a good voice. I had a history teacher when I was in high school, and she said, "Steve, you got to be careful what you say, because when you talk, people will listen." And I didn't understand that until I began to realize that I did absolutely nothing for this, nothing whatsoever. My mother said when I came out of the womb, I sounded like a burp. And it's been going on from the beginning. And I've tried to say good things because I know that God, sometimes when people look at what I look like when I'm speaking at conferences, they have a shocked look on their face. And I often say at the beginning of a seminar or a conference or a lecture or even a sermon that I'm so sorry. You were expecting the Marlboro Man, and God thought this was funny, putting this voice in this body. I have never thought it was funny, but I am glad for it. And it's an illustration of grace. We don't do anything to earn it.
Nice.
I remember the first time I heard, well, of course, I had listened to you for years on the radio. And when you hear people on the radio, your mind creates a vision of a person. It just kind of the way that it works or it does for me. And so I envisioned this person, and then I was working at the Cove in the early 90s, and you came there, and the first time I'd seen you in person. And you're right. You're right. Your face that I had envisioned wasn't anything like what I've seen, but it was great, man. It was awesome. I've just loved it.
I was in Los Angeles one time, and this guy came up and said, "I came because I wanted to see what you look like." And I said, "Well," he said, "Well, I was expecting the Marlboro Man, and you're old." And he turned and walked away. When he got off to the side of the stage, he turned around and pointed at me and said, "I mean, really old and ugly." So I've had to live with that, and it's okay.
Steve, 600 radio stations, 2 separate programs that you do, Key Life, and you think about that. Years in the pastorate. Now you speak probably weekly, if not monthly, probably as much as you want. You teach at various colleges throughout the country and speak. What keeps Steve Brown going in the twilight of his life, so to speak?
It's grace. A long time ago, I came very close to a nervous breakdown in the church that I was serving in Miami. I was traveling 160, 170 days a year and turning out a book a year and teaching at a seminary and trying to be a good pastor and father. And it was midnight, and I found myself crying, and I realized something was wrong. And I remember saying, and it wasn't so much as a prayer as it was a cry. And I just said, "God, I got to do this until I die, and I'd rather die. And guys, Jesus came and he said, and I'm not a mystic or a contemplative or anything. And he said, you don't have to do this anymore. The next day I resigned, and I spent the next year of my life trying to discover what was wrong with me. And I found out that I had taught grace, but I didn't think it was applied to me. And the thing that gets me up in the morning, that keeps me doing this, is the awareness that Jesus likes me a lot, and about 10% more than he likes you guys. And because he does, I bask in that. I'm working on a book now called Laughter and Lament, the Touchstones of Christian Freedom. And I've been discovering why human beings, at least Christians, can laugh at funerals. In fact, I've never been to a Christian funeral when people didn't laugh. And Christians know the depth and the pathos of sorrow and loss. And all of that is a gift of God's grace. And he is present in both. In fact, guys, this is what Southern Gospel does. More than any genre of music that I know about, it connects with grace, with mercy, with sadness, and with laughter. You know, if you want to laugh, go to a Southern gospel music concert, and you're going to probably cry too. And that is at the heart of who I am. It's why I love Southern gospel and don't know a thing about it, because it reflects what it means to be a human being and why we were created. Mm-hmm. And it's all about his mercy and his grace. And the music is about the pain sometimes, mm-hmm. and how deep it is and how dark it is, but always mixed with the laughter of God's people. Mm. And that's why it's so popular. Nobody defines it that way, but that's it. Mm-hmm. You can't watch a Gaither video. My wife's a classical musician, by the way, and
yeah,
she wouldn't describe Southern gospel or country music as her favorite music. Although when we went to a Johnny Cash concert, she did stand on the table and whistled. But we sit sometimes and watch a Gaither video, and you can't watch that without tears. I mean, it gets to us and to her every time, because it strikes a chord that is deeper than even the music. And it's grace and mercy and laughter and lament. And I guess that's the reason I so identify with Southern gospel, because it's what I'm about too.
Yeah. Yeah. No joke, Steve. All these groups this year, and you know this from being in the ministry, this past year, 2020, was probably the hardest on the music industry of any format ever before.
Oh, yeah.
The buses were taken off the road. So many groups lost money. So many groups had to take side jobs, because they travel. That diesel is in their veins. It's in their blood. They come from the same area that you come from, Asheville, North Carolina, a lot of them around the hills, and they travel throughout America. What would you say to these groups in 2021 to encourage them after this season of pain, so to speak, that we've went through? And let's face it, guys, we're recording this on December the 12th, and it's airing on January the 1st. So we have no idea what's going to happen the next 18 days. We're just going to assume positive or 19 days. Steve, what would you have to say to those guys that are out there singing that kind of music and give them a bit of encouragement to encourage others?
Well, the first thing I would say is let your tears be real and your pain be authentic. Don't pretend that you're walking with Jesus through the tulips. You're not. This is, and I picked the word on purpose, this is hell. And I know it. And I know the fear of not being able to put food on the table, of losing a career that seemed to be going well. That's no fun. It's really dark. But it's not something that should surprise Christians, and especially those Christians who are called in their profession to sing about the faith. Jesus died on a cross, and you can't take it out of the reality of who we are. There is great sadness. He said, in this world, you're going to have tribulations. And so don't act like nobody ever told you. It's awful. It really is. But Jesus said, be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. And he really has. And so, I would encourage you. I would say when you're down and things are bad, you think it's always going to be that way. And when you're up and things are going in and the fees are bigger than they used to be, you think it's always going to be that way. And neither is true, because we live in a fallen world. There are elements of joy and elements of tear. And we've done the tear thing over the last few months, and I hate it. And I'll tell you, you think you've got it hard. Yeah. I smoke a pipe. You ought to try to smoke a pipe wearing a stupid mask. You talk about pain, that's really pain. And, the fact that we're laughing right now,
yes, sir,
says something about who we are and what we're about. And so I would just say to you, cuss and spit and hang on and wait and watch. It's not going to be this way forever. And when it's over, you can celebrate. And the old guy, that would be me. I'm an old, cynical preacher. The old guy will tell you when it's over, I told you so. It's one of the few joys that old people get. We're already irritated about being old, so it takes very little to tick us off. But one of the joys is being able to say, been there, done that, and I told you so. So that's what I would say.
That's awesome. Arthur, what you got, my friend?
Oh, that's fantastic. And you're exactly right. We are very fortunate to be, working as much as anybody is, especially through this year. But even at that, it's just so different. The communication with people, you're separated.
Yeah.
You can't get. I feed off the crowd when I'm emceeing or trying to pick songs for the program. I try to figure out what people are needing and trust the Lord to kind of guide me that way. And you feed off the people, and
right.
You can't see their face. You can't, you can barely see their eyes. And it's so hard to get any indication of, are you really reaching them or not? And man, it really is, you really just have to say, Lord, I can't do anything. It's all in your hands.
And that awful to have to trust God.
No.
He might let you down, Arthur. I did. I go to the Cove a lot, and I was there this summer, and they require everybody wear a mask, and I experienced exactly what you're talking about. I told them they looked like a bunch of thieves, and I couldn't tell whether they were sleeping or getting what I was saying.
I know.
And they complained a lot about it. It is a hard time, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. And you're exactly right. You have to depend on, it puts you in a position where you have to depend on the Lord. So many times, and probably like you as a speaker, you hone a message, and you hone a program, or after 5 or 6 months, you've got it down. You know what I mean? You can kind of depend on that a lot of times, and boy, there's no depending on that at all right now. I mean, it's just, you really puts you in a position where you have to trust the Lord to really make sure that message gets across.
Saint Teresa said that, Lord, you'd have more friends if you treated the ones you had a little bit better. And maybe the pandemic is a good example of that. I don't know.
Guys, we're all three portraits of grace. And I say that just based on knowing each of your lives and knowing mine. And we all come from similar backgrounds. Me from the hills of North Georgia, Arthur, you and Steve from the hills of West Virginia. As I watched the recent Netflix movie, and
Western North Carolina,
and I watched the recent Netflix movie, and I read the book before, the New York Times bestseller, Hillbilly Elegy. I saw a lot of my life as a kid coming through that. I don't want to, for those listening, I don't want to portray my mother the same way that mother was. You can replace the drugs for religion in my life, honest to God, if you want to know the truth about it.
Oh, I get it.
But Steve, did you ever dream when you were that boy, when you were there, that God would lead you out of those hills up to Massachusetts, down to Florida, speaking all over the world? Did you ever have that dream or ever have that thought?
Oh, never in a million years. In fact, they used to invite me back to my home church because they knew they would have a crowd. That crowd would consist of all the teachers I had who couldn't believe that Brown's standing in a pulpit. And by the way, I love that, Vance. I haven't seen the movie, but I absolutely love that book. And, that book, in a sense, got Southern gospel too. You could hear the songs as you read it. Yeah. And Vance is such a great writer. Was the movie good?
The movie was good. It was, as my wife and I sat there and watched it, Steve, on Netflix, I said to her, this is a little too close to home. And she couldn't get it because, she come from Orlando. She's down there in the land of the sun, went to high school down there at St. Croix. Life was different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was a little too close to home. Here's a single mother. I was raised by a single mother who worked her tail off for 42 years, cutting old women's hair to put, and But as I read that book, the mother had her trials and had her troubles. My mother, the same way. And the culture of that time, berated a single mother. You follow what I'm saying?
It did.
And I, as a growing up, I'm 51 years old. I can remember in first grade in 1976, not getting invited to the birthday parties because I didn't have a mom and a dad. You follow what I'm saying? But my mom kept on, and she kept pressing forward. So, our culture that we all grew up in, and that mountain culture, it's defined who we are, so to speak.
It really did.
But God has allowed us to graduate, so to speak. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, I agree. But something else?
Yeah.
I think the reason that Vance's book became a bestseller all over the country is because I think almost everybody who isn't living in denial has been through very painful pathos in their lives with their families.
Yeah.
And I think he portrayed, by using the genre of Southern culture, what is actually true of the world. That's why Southern gospel isn't just popular in the South anymore. I mean, you guys are packing them in everywhere. You go to a Gaither concert and you got as many Yankees as you got Southerners.
More so. Because
and
Southerners,
more so. That's right.
Southerners don't believe in paying for it. By God, it comes free at church.
Did you know that I talked to Bill right after he did the first filming of those videos? He had some gospel music, and you said, I think Darian, you or maybe it was Arthur, you said that they have a fire when they sing. And Bill called me like the next day or a couple of days later, and he said, you know what I did the other night? And I said, no. And he said, I had some of those old gospel quartet singers over for dinner. And after dinner, we went in the living room and I sat down at the piano and they started singing. And he said, Steve, it was so good, I can't tell you. I'm going to film these things. He said, I did film them, and I'm going to film more of them. And we all know the rest of that story. There is that reality of people who are willing to sing about their pathos and God's grace and God's mercy, and it connects everywhere. It connects with my wife, a classical musician, with Yankees in New York who don't even like the smell of fried chicken, of people in Indianapolis. I've done those gathering things for the Gaithers a number of times. And man, I'll tell you, people get it, and they get it because it's real.
Yeah.
And Arthur, yeah. You know, you and I and you too, Darian, you know, we are out of that soil. And the good thing about that soil is that it's hard to hide. You got to sing about it. You got to talk about it. You got to laugh about it. If you live in a different place than where we lived, you could fake it.
Yeah.
We couldn't do that.
Steve, one last question. I know you ain't got a lot of time and you've got 2 radio shows to do, but so many in the Southern gospel world find theirself in what I term brick world, meaning they've always done it this way. Life's always been this way. We're always going to do it this way. How would you express to them to get out of brick world, that God's got something bigger if you'll just let him? How would you describe that?
Just the way you did. God's in the business of opening up our world. And as Christians, we're here for them. We're not here for us, or that we feel comfortable. You know, they say that if a Bubba says to you, here, hold my beer and watch this, you better run as fast as you can. When God says, watch this, it means that he's going to bring a pandemic, or he's going to bring something that breaks us out of our pattern, the same old, and send us to places where we're uncomfortable and where God will use the music to touch people's lives in a profound way.
Awesome.
Wow.
Arthur, what you got? Close us out, my
Wow.
friend.
Wow, that's great. Steve, thank you so much for being a part of a program and encouraging. You've encouraged me, my friend, and I appreciate it. I know you're going to encourage a lot of people, and you've encouraged me over the years. I just have loved your ministry through the years, and it's been a blessing to me through many years, and I just can't thank you enough for your faithfulness and
that means a lot. Could I call you
really
occasionally and have you repeat that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I like the plain talk. Okay. I love the plain talk, and I love just being blunt and out there, Steve, and thank you for doing it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys. I've loved it.
No problem. Steve Brown, he's on 600 stations nationwide. You can check out his program, keylife.com. You think about that, you just go on there, enter your zip code. It'll tell you what station he's on in your town. Keynote speaker, check him out. Steve Brown. Hey, this is Darren, and I'm here for my buddy Mike Lindell and My Pillow. That's right, My Pillow. I got to tell you a little secret, and this is a true story. The other day I'm laying in the bed, I looked at Mary and I said, I'm going to get me some new pillows today. She said, what do you need with new pillows? You got them. I said, I got one that's decent, and I didn't know which one it was. I mean, I knew which one it was, and I pulled the cover off of it, and it was only My Pillow. The rest of them were these ones that we bought from TJ Maxx or Target or Walmart or somewhere that just had worn out their welcome. And you know what, guys? I feel like I needed new pillows. And she said, well, why don't you call My Pillow, because you like the one you got there, and tell them what you're looking for, and they'll help you out. You know what? I called, and guess what? They helped me out. They asked me what size I was. They asked me how I slept. Did I sleep on my back or on my side or on my stomach? What felt right? Feathers or, blah, 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 foam. They asked me all these questions. More questions than I ever dreamed about a pillow, and I got my new My Pillow in the mail, and I've slept right. You want that change in your life? It's real simple. 1-800-338-2330. 1-800-338-2330. Use the code word SGNP. That's right, the code word SGNP. And tell them you heard about this special offer. And when you use that code, you'll get a great discount from the folks at My Pillow. I use My Pillow. You should too. 1-800-338-2330. Use the code SGNP. My Pillow, the official pillow and sleep provider of Southern Gospel News Podcast. Welcome back to Southern Gospel News Podcast. It's New Year's Day. Happy New Year. No, it's really December 12th. This show's just coming out on New Year's Day. And I'm going to tell you the truth, Arthur. I've got a hard time not releasing this December the 13th. If my studio folks could get it together by the 13th, no doubt I would release this on the 13th, because I think it's a message. But you know what? It's January 4th, January 1st. We're all looking for something in 2021 to inspire us. And I don't care what genre, I don't care what denomination you are. I don't care if you're a hollering dollar preacher, as I love to call them, and I love those guys. I don't care if you're independent Baptist. I don't care if you're, Methodist, PCA, USA, Episcopal. Steve spoke right to you. In what Church of God, anything else, got to throw those guys in there. Assembly of God, yeah. Steve threw it out there, and he was just plain. And it's like he said to us after the interview, 80 years old, and he can say what he wants to. And great word. What do you think?
I've always felt that Steve was genuine, and all the years I've listened to him, and it's what I loved about him. He was, he was just real. And, spoke to me, and that's what I love. I've always loved about his teaching and preaching. And I love that about him. And I'm so glad that he's continuing with that.
The one thing I have to do, and you're going to laugh when I say this, Steve is such an eloquent speaker. Okay. Just a genuine. But he mentioned this word 3 times or 4 times during the interview, and I wrote the word down. Pathos, Pathos. Okay. Uh-huh. So when I was sitting here, okay, my ignorant self had to look it up. Okay. And it's a noun. It's a quality that evokes pity or sadness. Uh-huh. The actor interjected his customary humor with pathos in his role. I listened over and over to him say that, and I'm thinking, man, and he described our culture and our music so well and how it reaches people. In every group that's out there, Arthur, no matter if it's the Kingdom Heirs, the Gaither Vocal Band, or whoever, needs to pay attention to what Steve said right there going into 2021, because God's getting us out of brick world and he's pushing us in other directions. What do you think? Yeah,
I agree. Totally different, than a year ago, of where we are mentally, spiritually, And I'll be honest, it's been a mental struggle for me this year.
Yeah.
Just getting through life. I mean, it's and we feel very, I feel very fortunate that God has smiled on me this year. I've not had it near as rough as many have, but
you've got friends. You've got personal friends that have mortgaged everything they had.
Yes. Yeah.
To make it through.
Yeah.
Not knowing where their next check's coming from.
Yeah, exactly. And I know if I have struggled, I know a lot more have struggled more than I have. So, it's been a different world, and I found that I've had to trust the Lord more than ever.
Yeah.
That He knows what's going on, and He knows where I'm at, and He loves me. Yeah. And it really has. It shouldn't be a struggle for us, but it is. It really is.
No doubt. We purposely, and I'm going to say this wasn't Arthur's decision. It was my decision. We purposely didn't do a show in November or December of this year because this COVID thing and the elections and all the topics around life centered around the election and what was going to happen in COVID and what was going to happen. I just didn't want to talk about it. And Arthur, as I'm praying about this podcast, because we do have a great audience and we do have a lot of friends out there and a lot of people listening. Thank you for those that have wrote and sent me messages and one of y'all coming back. And we're glad to do this first show. It became real apparent to me that we needed the first part of this year, first part of January, we needed to bring some strong men of God on to kind of help us and help the gospel music world, in ways that we talk about behind closed doors, but we never talk about it in the open. Steve said in that interview right there, he was about to have a nervous breakdown. Mm-hmm. Dude could get a job in California, in New York, in Chicago, reading headlines any day he wants with the voice like that. But he was about to drive himself crazy. So just some good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a lot of times the devil will cause us to get so busy in doing the right thing, not doing bad things, but get us busy doing the right things, that all of a sudden we turn around and we've left God out of all of it.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Thanks, Steve Brown, for being a part. And as always, thank you, Arthur. We'll be back next week. We've got a couple of more pastors coming up, some big names. Dr. Jay Strack, head of Student Leadership Foundation. Jay's one of the few preachers you've seen in the Singing News back in the day. Preach revivals for Charles Stanley and Bailey Smith. How many men can say that? Jerry Vines, have mercy. I mean, he's coming on with us. We've got him. Governor Mike Huckabee, he's on his way, going to be on with Arthur and me. And we're working on a few more names that you will know that will encourage you this January. And don't worry, folks. We love our Southern gospel artists, and we'll get them back on. We got Arthur on every week, and he's the best of the best, So it is what it is. Is that fair to say, Arthur?
It
is. Arthur, got one last thing before we get out of here. I ain't said it in a long time. What's wrong with living right?
Not a thing.
Not a thing. You're listening to Southern Gospel News Podcast. Happy New Year, 2021.
All right, everybody in the house, come on, do this for me.
Oh, I like it already. Yeah! Wait, Adam. Some of these days I'm going home, where no sorrows ever come. We'll soon be done with troubles and trials. Safe from heartache, pain, care. We shall all that glory share. Never gonna sit down beside my Jesus. Lord, I'm gonna sit down and rest a little while. We'll soon be done with troubles and trials. In that home. Yes, in that home on the other side. And I'm gonna shake my hand with the yellow. Lord, I'm gonna tell my kindred. straight.